Welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name is Matt Lehman, and on this stream we build Django apps. We're going to continue on my journaling app. If this is your first time joining us, we're building a journaling service that sends out emails and allows users to record a private journal. And we are working through the process of making the sign-up flow robust enough that I can actually let in users, which means we got to put in all of the fiddly bits around account creation and legal matters and Stripe sign up stuff and all of these kind of things. So we're going to continue working through that milestone. We've got the basic site working, and it's serving me currently. I'm receiving emails and using it as my own personal journaling service. But we've got to get these things in place, and then we can open up to other people. So that's what we're going to be working on this evening. Feel free to ask me anything about Python, Django, or web development if you are so inclined. Otherwise, we'll just jump to it. So last time I was streaming, I was saying we have to have our sign-up process include both terms of service and a privacy policy. These are things that are required by websites to essentially describe the legal agreement that is between a website and you. And I'm sure you've gone through this where you've most likely read or skipped through the terms of service as you sign up for a site, but it's a requirement that's there to say, what is my legal relationship with you as the owner of this website, and what do you get as a user of the website? So these are steps that we have to take to comply with the law, and I want to do my best to be a good law-abiding person, I guess. I do have to give you the caveat of I'm not a lawyer, and the stuff I present this evening is not meant to be legal advice, so view this as you will. This is the path that I'm taking, but you're in a different part of the world perhaps with different sets of laws and different requirements. I'm going to go with what I know on based out of the US as I am with my site. So I looked through a bunch of generating legal generation stuff. Like there are free generators out there that will generate terms of service documents and privacy policies and all that. And I found two varieties. Oh, John, welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you. We did have a pretty good time off. My daughter was sick, so I had to stay home. I didn't actually get to go to see the in-laws in Georgia, but stayed home with her. Had a good time anyway. So that happens, but we had fun. So anyway, I was saying I was looking at these generator tools that are out there. There are tools that will allow you to generate a privacy policy or generate a terms of service, and I found them in roughly two categories from my perspective. One category was we'll let you fill in all the details, and we'll collect all the things that you want to say in your terms of service about what you are going to do or not going to do with somebody's data. And then we'll charge you something at the end of saying, like, we'll give you a terms of service, but it's going to cost you $15 or $50 because you clicked on this option, this option, this option. The other category was some free generators that I found, but the quality of what I read through in the terms of service, because I actually did try and read these documents, they just didn't make any sense for an online software as a service. It was more like kind of shrink wrap software, stuff you'd get in back in the day when you actually like buy CDs and get a box and like here's what you get out of this and what you should do with it if you don't want it anymore. And that didn't feel right either. So ultimately what I concluded is that I'm just going to steal the same terms of service and privacy policy that I used in my homeschool application. I honestly don't remember where I got those terms and privacy policy from. It was from another one of these generator sites. Maybe I did a little bit more digging back then and found a valid one, or I used some better keyword search terms that were a better fit, that were more meaningful, but I was unsuccessful this time around. So I'm going to steal from those, take the HTML there, and I'm going to substitute. It's largely going to be the same. The only difference is going to be the URLs to the name of the service and then the actual name of the service. But this is not an LLC that I'm running here, or there's no company that's backing this, so it still will be my name attached to the terms of service and privacy policy. Again, not legal advice. I'm not even sure this is the best thing for me. It's probably one of these things where if I had enough success, I would want to create an LLC for myself and get that set up. So that's the plan, and we'll start there. So let's get this going, and then we'll, wow, right as I want to actually do something. No, remind me later. We will get that integrated, and then if we have time, we'll move on to the next chunk of this, which will be stuff about Stripe integration and so on. You see a little bit of funniness with my background here. I just got a green screen for Christmas as one of my gifts, and I am clear. It's attached to my chair. You can see it. There's some fun kind of comes in and out. So I'm gonna adjust things over time, see if I can make it. I found some interesting challenges with this. Yeah, I found that if I go in too narrow and cut off those little corners that you see, then you can't see my arms at all. I get it too wide, so I want to have wide enough that you can actually see stuff, but not too wide that you see my plain background in over there. So that's what's going on here. I'm trying to make the best of it, so hopefully it's an overall decent experience. But we're going to work through it together. Okay, so what do we need? We need to incorporate. We need like a few things. We need the actual terms of service page and a privacy policy page. So those both need URL routes. We need some tests for these because my coverage target for my application is 100%. So we've got to at least test that the page is accessible. That's going to be a really easy thing to check. We'll check for a 200 response code. And then we need to integrate these URLs into the actual signup page. And I think I talked about this last time of something called click wrapping or something to that effect, where it's where you see it on the signup page. It says, essentially on the bottom, it'll say like, by clicking this button, you agree to these terms of service and privacy policy. It's a way to legally comply that you check the box without literally checking a box. And yeah, I think the term is called click wrapping, but that's not sounding quite right. It's close to that if I'm getting it wrong. Anyway, so here is our very basic sign up page that we have. We didn't heavily style it because that wasn't the goal. We want to get enough in there so that somebody can actually sign up. We want to check the legal boxes to make sure that we're compliant with the spirit of the law. And then we want to actually let people sign up. So this is going to look pretty basic from what you see on the actual pages, but it'll get the material content out there, which is the most important aspect of this. So first steps first is let's go to our URLs, and we should put this probably in the same place where you have some of these core views. So there's going to be views that are specific to working with journal entries and stuff. We're still not at that point where we need any of that stuff. The rest of these things that are kind of everyday sort of things that you might need, I'm going to continue to put in this core app. So we have the main index page. It's on the core app, and we'll attach another one here. So I think I want to call it what I think I called it in my last app. I called it terms. So let's start with the terms of service. So we're going to create a view called terms. That'll be the view name. And I'm going to put the path right here, and it'll be terms. And that'll be take the view name and the name of the route, which I will also call terms. This is not going to be very creative here. That's okay. It's not meant to be. So we've got a new view, and now we need to go to the core app, the views file. And here we can essentially copy this, create a terms page. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to be rendering a template with no context. And for now, it'll be the terms template. And we don't need two of these things. We want another one called terms. Now I could use a template view. You may have encountered the template class-based view, and you may have even seen the template view be used right here as something like template view .as view, and then it gives the template name. And I'm not going to do that. I found that this approach, I like the separation a little bit more. I like not having views in my URLs file. It's my personal style, but that's take of that what you want. So whichever way you want to do it is cool, but this is how I'm choosing to do it. So I'm going to steal from this template. Why not? And we'll go back up. We'll go into our core area. Actually, maybe no, I don't want that template. Do I? No, don't. So we'll put in our terms, HTML, and we'll paste it in here. I'm not going to need any of this form, and we don't need the waffle tags because we're not gating this stuff at all. So we will change this to be terms of service or something like that, although we might just take it from the other one. So I'm going to steal from the homeschool app, like I said. So let's go over here and let's look for the terms page, and it looks like I did basically the same thing. And I'm going to straight up steal all this stuff, although I'm going to have to change the blocks are a little different, but I want to take all of this tag and I want to copy that and then paste it right in here. And I think it's pretty close. I think we only got, did it get the indentation right? It did. Hey, look at that. Cool. And then I'm going to check my base template because I think I did create an area for a title. Really? I did not even create an area for a title yet. This is how far along we are. All right, let's go to the base template then. We want to have a title for our pages, and we want the title to be customizable. So I want to use a title tag, and I'm going to put a new block here. And the block I'm going to call title. I think it's the most natural name. And we want to have a default thing so that by default we want it to say, if I forget a title, if you need to know where you are, you're on the Journey Inbox site. And I feel like, let me go check something in my homeschool app for a minute, because I feel like I did something fancier here where it would do, let me check on something. Go to base, head title. Oh, okay. So the way this is working is I put this in here all the time. So if a page was, every page is basically needed a title, because if I didn't put it in, it would look like minus school desk. John, am I using a sitemap? That is a good question. I think so. How did I do this? So yes, but I don't remember everything that I put in there. That is a good idea. Like, let's come back to that. Because I don't even remember how I did it. Not for this milestone though. So how do I get rid of a milestone on that? I don't want this. Okay. Whatever. I'll just come to this way. Make a sitemap. We'll do that in the future for sure, because it will be useful. The sitemap on this site is really not going to include much. The reason I had the sitemap on the other one was for documentation. Like, I had a documentation from Sphinx. I don't know how I'm going to do documentation this time around. Sphinx is okay, but it comes with complications. Like, I got it going, so I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find some other way to do it. Maybe it's just static pages. I'm not sure. Casual Engineer Zombie. Oh, great. I'm glad you're able to enjoy the book online. Yeah, definitely. I know that folks, not everybody's like ready to make a purchasing decision. So I want to make it available, and not everybody can afford it. So I don't know what your situation is. I don't really care, but glad you're able to enjoy it. So let's record this. We'll come back to that later. And we are here. Okay. If you got a good package in mind, John, I will be happy to drop it into that issue, and so that we can review it later. I know there's a Django has, and I used it. I saw it there. It has there's a sitemap feature. Okay, let's just take a quick peek. Okay, so there's this file I think was built by something. but I don't remember how I did this. Okay, so there's a core view, core sitemaps, core. I'm just now curious. I do. Okay, yeah. So I use the sitemap contrib area from Django, and you give it like the pages that you care about and how often it changes. And you can see for this app, I didn't need a big sitemap. And the same thing will probably be true of Journey Inbox. There's really not going to be a lot that's public. So we don't need, like, it's one, a sitemap is good for, so for, I guess I didn't really comment on anybody that doesn't know, but sitemaps are a way that crawlers like Google and search engines can scan through your website, and it's like an index of everything that's in the site, a map, if you will, and be able to like know what pages should I be looking for and what's here. Sitemaps are really valuable for a content-oriented site where you want to like expose all the news that you have, and that becomes kind of critically important, especially when SEO is vital. It's a little less important when you have just a few pages, and frankly, they're especially if all these pages are public. If my website is found at all and I have just a few pages, I have a feeling the average crawler can find all the content without the assistance of sitemap. Still, it's probably a good thing to have one as a web measurement tool that we'll do later. Okay, let's so we looked at the title, and the question is, do I want to do the same kind of title thing? So what I'm doing here is saying that there is a default of Journey Inbox if you don't provide a title. I guess we need to close the tag. So there's a default title, or you can override the title. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to follow the other one, what I did with the other one, because what I will likely do is I will forget at some point to put Journey Inbox. So there's going to be a page that will say, I don't know, about, and I'm going to forget the Journey Inbox part. So I think it's good to include a title, and I wish there was just like an optional way to include that n dash in there, or I could just leave it off entirely. Because over here, it was base, I had an n dash tag, or escaped attribute to kind of separate whatever the title was from the name of the site. So I'll do that too. Why not? So we'll do ampersand n dash, and we'll delete here, and we'll put Journey Inbox. Now we'll need to come back through to our other pages. And what'll be noticeable if we forget one, but that's okay. And so over here now we can do block and title terms of service. We can end the block. And we don't need this H1 because I have it down here. Now the question is, like, there's going to be some stuff here that, remember, Homeschool, well, you may not remember, you may have never joined this before. Homeschool is based on a blue theme, and I think I said that for this site I want to go with a green, like a forest green kind of theme. So we might play with the colors a bit, and we're going to update some things in here. And we need to update the date, all sorts of stuff. So let's work through this terms of service thing. Let's see it, make sure it's all working, and then hook it into the index, or hook it into the pages that it needs to be hooked into, which is the sign up page, and then write the test for it, and that should finish off that particular page. So let's start this up. Hopefully we got everything right. And we're going to go to 5. Did they put on 5,000 or 5,001? 5 is still on 5,001. And this should be an unauthenticated page, so this should work just fine. Oh, fun. We really have no content yet. All right, that's fine. And then the other thing we need, so you can see where the blue is showing up as this dark blue. Can I increase the size of my font? I am not going to, Armanju, I'm not going to fiddle with that today. Sorry if it's not really the right size for you. I guess I can blow it up in the browser here, so it's really just a couple boring terms of service text, but you can do that a little bit. But I keep my font where it is kind of optimized for me. Maybe that's not the best, but that's where I'm at right now. So we've got this blue 900 here. I think that's the thing we want to change. How often does it appear? Yeah, okay. So let's highlight all this. Let's do some substitutions on blue 900. And let's go to Tailwind and check for some colors. So we want text color. And we want green of some sort. What did we do? What did we do the other one? Hold on. I know we used some green somewhere. We didn't? Oh, I could have sworn. Well, I guess it must not have been green then. We did. Can't remember. It's on the sign up page. Let's go check it out. Lime 800. How does that look down here? It might look like garbage and text, but we should look for the lime family. I can't even tell at this size. So it's so dark. But maybe it'll be more noticeable on the bigger font. Okay. So we want to substitute blue 900 for lime 800. Matt. Dummy. Didn't hit enter. Okay. All right. Now we can return to here. Better. It's got that nice foresty dark green. And so the next thing we need to look for is any mention of school, because it's already got my name in it. And I could walk you through the terms of service. It's frankly not that interesting. Like what I care about terms of service is I need enough control to be able to operate the site. If you let me use your data, like let's say you sign up for the service, I need to be able to manage the database. And the terms of service kind of says like, I get the authority to sometimes move data around, touch data, manipulate data, whatever. It's my right to modify things, and I follow the law, and I'm going to link to stuff, and like you can. There's not a lot here. In fact, this is the whole thing. It's not. I don't have a big legal team, so I want to keep this as short and sweet as possible. So I don't think it mentions school in any other places except for the URL. I think the only thing we need to change is the actual URL itself. Otherwise, we're done. So we'll change the date to be today. I did that 4 years ago. It's crazy. Or 3.5, I guess. Cool. So let's come up here. And we want to change this to January the 3rd, 2024. Happy New Year, everyone. And I want to modify the schooldesk.app to be journeyinbox.com. Okay. I think that should do it. journeyinbox.com. Click through, takes us to the actual website, which is deployed live right now. That's fine. I don't care about hard coding this. I don't need this to be localhost. That doesn't really matter. So it's totally okay. Okay, cool. Now, let's go look at the sign up page, do the comparison, because I had it over here, and we can actually use the same language. Like here. Oh, there's even some good ideas in here. So let's talk about this. First of all, there's going to be a change in path. So I'm putting the route right in the top of the entire site. And it could be argued that it would be better for this to be like just a URLs in the core app that we link to. Maybe we'll do that later, but for now, I'm going to keep it at the top. So we got to change some stuff with the actual URL path here. The other thing that we need to do, or that's here that is worth commenting on, is this target blank. Target blank is a way to signal to the browser that you want to load in a new tab. In ancient days, it was load a whole new window, but it means load in a new tab these days. And the reason to do that is like you don't want anybody to like click through and never come back. You actually want to keep the sign up page open. So this is just a sensible thing to include from my perspective. Yeah, I do mention school desk there. I'll clean that up for sure. So we're going to steal this paragraph. We'll yank that. And we will go to the sign up page. And we'll plop it right here. And it's probably going to look like trash right now. Whoops. Not what I wanted. There we go. Again, this doesn't have to look perfect. It just has to look good enough. And it has to check the legal box. That's really what's important there. So we've got journey inbox. It's got this ampersand RS quo here. That's to give the fancy quote rather than a straight quote. One of the people where I worked with years ago, who was a product designer person, she told me, I can tell when a programmer has done a design right away when I see straight quotes in actual text, because it sticks out like a sore thumb to certain people, especially those that are typographically inclined, I guess. They notice that kind of stuff. So I was always encouraged to, in my actual UI designs, to put, they're called smart quotes. It's like the straight up and down ones are dumb quotes, and the other ones that actually have that, they know they're smart because they know if they're a left or a right quote. That's what these are about. So use the right quote there. And then we need to link to the terms page. And I think this is going to blow up on me if I go back to the sign up page because it's got this in here. So let's, for the moment, change this to the index because that's a page that I know actually works. And then we can return. Now we can basically go back to, although we might have to sign out, count, log out. We want to sign out or log out? Huh. Okay. Because we can't get to the sign in page, it'll redirect us if we are logged in. We want to look at our sign up page. There we go. That's how it's going to look. Looks pretty pleasant. By continuing, you agree to journey inboxes. So again, this is called like click wrapping. And by clicking that button, you say I agree to this page and this page. All right, let's click through. Takes us there, so we know that it works. I had no doubt because it's a URL, but I'm also noticing that's wrong. What do I do about that on the main site? You call it home or something. That I don't want to. All right, we'll figure that out later. We'll leave the title looking like it is for now. If I run this, it's going to fail. Nope. I run the test, which is what I meant to run, it's going to fail at less than 100% because that new view is not covered. We're up there, but we got to go test it. And it should be pretty easy to test. So let's go to our test views, and we can test the same thing here, but we'll do it for the terms page. So we'll change that to terms, and we will switch index to terms. Now that should be all we need. All it's doing is checking for a 200 response, which is just checking, can you reach the view? Which is pretty simple. We could have started on content, but why bother? It's terms of service content. Okay, I think we're done with that. Let's check out the diff, make sure everything looks good from what we want, and commit it. Got the new test, we got the new view. Oops, the doc string is a lie. Let's fix that. The terms of service. Okay. So we have our new view. We've hooked it up into the URLs. We've incorporated it into the signup page, which has our terms of service and privacy policy. We've added our new title block area to our base template, and we've got our actual terms of service page, which at this point, all we changed from the one that was on School Desk was the color, the date updated, and then the name of the service referenced. Everything else is the same text that was on that that other terms of service page. So we can commit that, and this fixes fixes 58. So add terms of service. Fixes number 58. Cool. All right, let's take a little breather. Let's go to our pre-commit. There's an update here that is going to update rough. We'll just pull it or squash it in there. Pull that into main. So we've got updated pre-commit, and we've cleared our pre-pull request list. Okay, returning back to here, we now have our privacy policy. So yeah, that seems the right thing to do. It's going to be basically identical to the thing we just did. We'll have to tweak some text, but I'm going to go a little bit faster this time around because you just saw me do all of this stuff for terms. So it's the same process. So there's frankly, there's less to do. In fact, let's go ahead and just in advance test the privacy policy. We'll call it privacy. That's going to fail right now. We'll do this. Change terms to privacy. Change that to policy. Okay, so we know that we're going to have a privacy policy. Coming back to here, instead of index, we want privacy. And we know that we need to update the URLs. So let's do that. We'll do privacy, 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 and privacy. Easy. Okay. Terms. And actually, I want to take all that. It's a good starting point this time, and we'll make our new template privacy, paste it in, and change. Oh, come on. got that now. And we can take out that content. We want to, privacy. Gonna copy everything from School Desk and we'll paste it in here. Okay. So this has got, again, it's got the blue 900. So let's view around that tag and then substitute for the lime 800. And then change the date to be January 4, 2024. Apparently this time I did reference the actual index URL. I don't know why, but we can fix that. Change this to journey inbox .com. See if there's any other mention of school in here. Nope. I'm looking for OOL because sometimes here's a stupid trick that I use sometimes is like Vim can do case insensitive searching, I think, if you set it up that way, but I set it up to not do that. So if I'm looking for words that might be capitalized, I'll just skip the first letter or just jump to like some common letters that I know are in there, like OOL in school. Maybe it's just an oddity of my personal style, but that's me. So there, my name is in there again, because again, I'm not a company, but this is describing like, how am I going to use your data? I am going to review this, I think. No. Over the years, I've pretty much soured on analytics tools, and maybe that's to my detriment, like from a maximizing profit perspective. But I just don't want to deal with that stuff. Like, and I do it on my personal website. I don't even know why I care. Like, it's a vanity thing, or I guess I need it maybe for some like Google ads. But I just really don't care. And I don't view these things as something that I'm going to make super heavy use of. So when this privacy policy stuff exists, it's easy to keep this simple because I'm just not collecting anything about you if I can avoid it. The only thing that I would collect is if you sign up and you write a journal entry. At that point, you've agreed to do exactly that. So that's my view on privacy stuff, is like, it's easy to comply with privacy laws if you're just not collecting anything in the first place. So the less you can collect, the better. That's my view on it. Okay, let's go over here and switch from terms to privacy. Okay, so now we've got our privacy policy page. It's got our date. It's got our site name, which is now going to the index, but that's fine. If you've already gotten to this page, it will take you to the right place. So it doesn't have to be hard-coded, doesn't matter. And this is what we collect. We have some logging stuff. It gives me the option to use Google Analytics if I wanted it to, or some similar service, but I probably won't. Yeah, this is all like standard stuff that I pulled from a thing that was generated. Ooh, there's another date in here. Ooh, I actually should check for other dates. Maybe that other one has another date in it too. September. Nope. Okay, this one has 2 for some reason. Okay, this privacy policy is effective as of this date. Well, let's change it. Whoa. January 4th, 2024. Okay. Refresh. So it tells you, like, if we're going to change the policy, we'll let you know. And if you have any questions, please contact us. And I didn't give any links because I just didn't, like, there were other ways to contact. So I don't want to include all that stuff. It should be Good. That should be it. Check the test coverage. Okay. Let's actually, we should check that the sign up page works correctly. I think it should, but yep. Takes us to privacy policy, or it opens up a new tab, privacy policy. So I think we're good. Cool. Quick and easy. Look at the diff really quickly, because it's essentially the review time that I've got here. We are checking that view. We've got the view. It doesn't take any context data. We have the accurate doc string this time. Got it hooked into the URL routes, and we changed the sign up page to reference it properly. We've got the text, which we lifted straight out of SchoolDesk. We updated dates, colors, and a link. And that's it. All right. Neat. So once pre-commit has a chance to update here, which should just take a second, we'll be able to move on to the next thing. So we'll say add privacy policy. And frankly, this was like the biggest thing. These two things were the biggest concern I had. I didn't want anybody signing up for the site and they didn't have terms of service and privacy policy and have any kind of legal recourse against me. Now most people out there are decent, but there's always there's some crazy people out there. So this fixes number 59. All right, I think we're ready to move into a much deeper issue, and that's our integration with Stripe. This, I don't anticipate we will get this done today. So there's a bunch of questions that we should think through here before we commit to doing this. And I think I've mentioned before in the stream, but Stripe is how we're going to collect payment. And Stripe has there's a lot to it. And it's getting, because it deals with money, it gets pretty complex of like what's required versus not. And there are different strategies out there for how you might want to deal with, these are called payment gateways. It's like because the law is so complex around money, as soon as you have data if you collect data about money, like let's say I was directly taking your credit cards and storing it in my database, I would suddenly be liable to protect that very carefully, according to US law anyway. I'm sure it's very similar in the EU. It might even be more stringent in the EU, I don't know. But there's rules about how I can store that data or not. So, and these are, the rules are called PCI. So that's the thing that you'd encounter. There you go. Payment card, I didn't know what it stood for. Payment card industry. So you have to be payment card industry compliant. There's laws all around this. So the easiest way to handle this is just make it somebody else's problem. And that's what Stripe is famous for doing. They make it so you can do customer creation and all the stuff that you would think about related to money. They handle most of that, and for a fee, of course, for every interaction that you do with a person, they'll deal with that. So for our SaaS project here, we need to make customers. If someone signs up, we want to consider them a customer, whether they're paying or not. Stripe has notions of whether an account is active or inactive or a beta in a trialing period. So we can go ahead and create an account for every person who signs up for the site, because the model that I'm going to have for this site is it will be free to use probably for a couple weeks. A couple weeks allows people to really get the feel for if they like journaling by email every day. You've got 2 weeks to figure that out, which I think the service I signed up for was even less than that. I'm just trying to be generous and give people the chance. So they'll have a trial period for that couple weeks, and then if they want to continue, they would need to start paying. That's how trials work, right? So the thing we need to do is we need to set up customers every time someone creates an account, and that's going to be some API call to Stripe. And when we do that, there's also things that we need to set on that account immediately, because one of the things that we need to know, what is it a trial against? So we might be setting them up for a trial against a monthly plan or an annual plan. Those are the kind of things that we need to figure out. And frankly, it's been a long time. I can't remember if it's like you do a trial against a particular product and the product has a plan. There's a lot of Stripe modeling here that we need to understand, and we will spend some time poking around on. We're also going to not do all of this ourselves. There's a way that you could, there's like, if we go to PyPI, and if you search for Stripe, you're going to find, well, I'm pretty sure, actually, there may not be, there it is. This is probably the official Stripe library that Stripe, the company, puts out. Support at stripe.com. So you could use their library, their Python library directly. You could use their APIs directly if you wanted to. We're not going to do either of those things, although we might end up needing a little bit of that. But we're going to reach for something called DJ Stripe. I must have spelled that wrong. Maybe it's Django or DJ-Stripe. There it is. So DJ Stripe is, as it sounds like, a project that takes Stripe and takes Django and combines them together. But what's cool about DJ Stripe is that it tries to also give you the models that you might want to use. So if you, like I said, there's a notion of a customer on the Stripe side. And wouldn't it be nice if that customer data was available to you in your Django admin? Well, that's exactly what DJ Stripe can do. It creates these models, it integrates with stuff, and by connecting to different, like connecting a webhook to Stripe. When a webhook is like giving you, like telling a company, here's a URL that you can call that I'll be listening for data. Whatever you want to send me, go ahead and send it. So Stripe will call that webhook anytime any event happens, and your webhook can do whatever processing you want. DJ Stripe provides a webhook that you can give to Stripe, the company, and anytime any of these events happen, it will transform these actions into database records that are built on the way that DJ Stripe has modeled this stuff out. And the models match up as best they can to Stripe's actual modeling. Okay, so that's the premise. But Stripe, as I said, we're dealing with money, so this stuff gets pretty complicated. And there's all sorts of, there's like payment intents. There's all these concepts that are new that are meant to be there as protections, which I value as a user of websites. I want to know that my data is safe. I want to know that a company's not taking advantage of me, trying to steal my credit cards, and that there's validation in check or in places in check that make sure that everything's going properly. But as someone on the other side, you have to like deal with that stuff as someone who's trying to set up a SaaS, and that's kind of annoying, frankly. So if you can have somebody else do that, as like if one person or one group is handling this for lots of SaaS projects, then we all can benefit. That's sort of the idea. So we're going to integrate DJ Stripe. We're going to set up the Stripe side. I have a Stripe account, but it's set up for School Desk. I can't use the same, well, I choose not to use the same one. I don't want to mix the customer pools there. So we will set up a second Stripe project. I don't remember what the term is. We'll get through all that. And by the time we're done, the flow will be something like person signs up for the service. They will get their normal user account created on the Journey Inbox side. They will also get something created on the Stripe side. After the trial period is over, we'll have to make sure that they cannot do other things. Like we won't process any new emails that come in after that time unless they have they've got an active, valid subscription and are paying for the service. So that's the general idea behind this. What do we need to know about this? We're using a modern version of Python. That's not a big deal. We have a modern version of Postgres because of Heroku. That's giving us an up-to-date Postgres, so that's good. We're using a modern version of Django, so that's not a problem. So we're checking all the requirements. Let's see. What else should we note about this? I'm trying to think of like what should I work through here that's going to be useful as a planning step. I don't want to just jump into code right away because I think we get ourselves into trouble. So let's go through. I think what we should do is we should read through some of the documentation, make sure we understand the pieces that are going to be necessary, and then write those things down with our Stripe issue, and then we'll start stepping through it. I should also note one more thing before we get into this. There are different levels of integration that you can do. One level is the most intense level where it says, you know what, we want to have our own sign-up forms. We want the selection of plans that are available to be totally custom and look exactly how we want them to look and be optimized for the exact look and feel of your site. That's totally valid, but it's more work. There is another option which Stripe makes available, which says, you know what? Why don't you just let us handle it? We already know how to do products. We already know how to do subscription services. We're pretty good at it. Let us handle the look and flow of that page, and then we'll just hand the customer back to you after they've signed up. So there's a process where there's a handoff from one domain to the other, where it says like, hey, you're about to leave Journey Inbox. You're going to go to Stripe. You're going to fill out some stuff, and then you're going to come back because Stripe is our partner. And so it's a little less custom looking, and it doesn't feel quite as native, but it's way, way more efficient in terms of my time. It's a path that I took for School Desk, and I've been really, really pleased with it. The benefit of this approach is that Stripe, their mission is to get people to pay for stuff, so they make sure that page is working and working well and is really optimized. And so we just need to make sure that handoff works well. So there's really not a lot for us to do. In addition, that page can be customized. It can have to make it sure that a user is not confused that they're about to pay. It's not like they're coming to the site and then they're paying for my trip to Cancun or something. I know, like, it's not like that. It's very clearly indicating you came to Journey Inbox, you're about to pay for it. Here's the brand, all of that stuff. You can kind of co-brand with Stripe. So even though you have their page, you're able to layer in your colors, your logos, that kind of stuff, to make it feel like it belongs mostly to your own site. So if you couldn't tell, I'm clearly going to favor the approach that is not as much integration work for me compared to the very custom route, and it just kind of reduces the burden that I have to bear myself. So that's my plan. So we might see that in the DJ Stripe documentation, and we want to keep that in mind if they are recommending what you have to do for each path. All right, enough talking. Well, there'll be lots more talking, but let's go to the documentation and see what we can learn. So this is the same stuff that was on that other page. DJ Stripe implements all the Stripe models for Django. Set up your webhook endpoint, which is what I talked about, and start receiving model updates. You will then have a copy of all the Stripe models available in Django models as soon as they are updated. Okay, because one thing that Stripe is really good about is they have historically have really great documentation. but they also have all these like events and actions that you can follow and monitor. And I could actually tailor this if we want to have more or less data. Like we might find that some of this data is just not useful, and we could turn that off, especially if it's like filling up the database tables quickly. But that's stuff we can tune, because initially it's not going to be a problem. There just won't be enough traffic for it to matter. Okay, so let's work through this. Let's see. So they say they cover, I don't know what Stripe core means. It's like it's been 2 or 3 years since I looked at this too. So let's go to Stripe, the Stripe documentation, and kind of orient ourselves there and see what they're kind of saying. So stripe.com. So we've got resources. I guess, well, I'm a developer. Guides. Build on Stripe apps. I don't know, maybe that's us? I'm not sure. Pre-built checkout. That's, I think, the thing we want. Here it is. Here's the example here. So Stripe checkout. Build a low-code payment form and embed it on your site, and then host it on Stripe. So you can see it's going to say checkout.stripe.com. Oh, you can now. I think this one's even less effort. Maybe we want to do this embedded form thing. I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to be worth it. So let's read through this a little bit. Checkout is a low-code payment integration that creates a customizable form for collecting payments. You can embed checkout directly in your website or redirect customers to a Stripe-hosted payment page. It supports one-time payments and subscriptions and accepts over 40 local payment methods. For a full list of checkout features, see the built-in features. All right, let's check out that page. And then let's also click this button, I guess. Well, what else is on here? Okay, there's a bunch of, let's follow what they're guiding us to. Recurring payments. Oh, you can like make a pricing page directly on your site. Cool. That's neat. Wow. I don't know that we want to do this right now, but cool. Because there's like all these things here. I don't know what they mean yet. Usage-based and tiered option, flat rate, brand colors. Okay. Not yet, guys. Too much. And I want to figure out the difference of what is it, just a trust thing, or is it a level of effort thing to do one or the other? Because it could, when I was doing this for School Desk, they had, I think they only had this option of the Stripe posted page, where the flow is essentially you use a Stripe JavaScript library, and you talk, your backend does some communication to Stripe. So it like sends makes an API call with a private key and gets like a token from Stripe, if I remember correctly. And then it brings that into JavaScript. It has to all be done like in JavaScript. You can't put it on the page, if I recall. And then the JavaScript library will then call out to Stripe and create this session thing. And then the session redirects you to this checkout Stripe page. That's what I remember. This option of this embedded form, I don't think that existed at all. And if we can get away with, I mean, maybe it's the same process of you have to get some token or session and then embed it, that'd be pretty cool. But I don't know yet. All right, this might be something totally different. Build an app on Stripe. Nope, not us. That's if you're like wanting to support Stripe's ecosystem. All right, here we go. Oh. When we click this built-in features thing, it's just later on this page. Just lower. And where did it take us? Oop, built-in and customizable features. So this, you can see very quickly, this is why you pay for Stripe, because it handles a lot of stuff. It handles all these methods of payment, which if you were doing that manually, you'd have to work with each of these companies. What a pain in the butt that would be. CAPTCHAs, this is the big one, PCI compliance. So if we're not storing any credit cards, so we don't get in any like legal trouble there. Card validation stuff. Yeah, Stripe's just pretty dope. Okay. They don't seem to be guiding us one way or the other yet. So maybe there's not. We got the how checkout works, but let's start there. Stripe checkout is a pre-built payment form. Okay. Checkout's built-in features allow you to reduce your development time. Agreed. I don't know what Link is. That seems to be a new product. Faster checkout with Link. Okay. Stripe's one-click payment solution. Well, we're not. This is people signing up for a subscription. I don't think I will be using that. Well, you never know. Maybe somebody wants to do I have no idea. Not sure. We've got, you can customize it. Here's this checkout session API. That's what I was talking about. Built in. This is going to drop me down to this feature section, which is later on this page. So we'll get there. One-time purchase and subscriptions. So it starts out of this basic page, you can see. And this is where you add your color and your logo, and it makes it look like it's your site, which we'll do. And I have to get a logo eventually in order to make this look decent. Or we skip all that, we do the embedded form route and drop it right in our site directly. Frankly, that's sounding kind of appealing if it works pretty seamlessly. If it's like you never leave the site, it's pretty cool. Because it sounds like it might be easier to style. And the important signal, like, maybe your average user's not going to know this, but for a developer and stuff, if you see powered by Stripe, I don't know, Stripe's a big enough brand now that people might recognize this. It's like, oh, okay, this is not, some random guy trying to cobble together his own payment processing stuff. It's somebody else's stuff. That's actually that's a good partnership signal in my perspective. Okay, let's keep going. When a customer is ready to complete their purchase, your application creates a new checkout session. You mount checkout as an embeddable component on your website to show a payment form. Okay. Customers enter their payment details and complete the transaction. After the transaction, the checkout session completed webhook event triggers the order fulfillment process. Okay. And then here's a flow chart. Send order, create checkout, return a checkout session. I don't know what that little icon in the corner means. Is that a webhook icon? It might be a webhook icon. You return the checkout session client secret. And then it can add the checkout thing. And then once the checkout form is there, We don't have to do anything. Like, that's all on Stripe's side. They'll make sure that the form works and completes the payment process properly. They come back to the website. Yeah, this thing must be a webhook. Yeah, there it is. Oh, it's hard to, there it goes. It's a webhook. It's the checkout session created webhook. And then we've got down here, there's the completed one. That's when, it's this one right here. This is actually really important. So we're going to integrate with DJ Stripe, and it will have a webhook. But you want to be able to react to some of the events that happen. And checkout session completed is the one where a user has said, I have paid for this, and now here's the data about me. And it allows you to, like, it's from here that I would switch from, like, if you recall, I've got an account model in my app, and it has different states. One of them is trialing. One of them is active. It is on this webhook signal, when that comes in and is completed, that's when I would flip it from the trialing to active state. That's the idea here. So this is probably the most important step. I mean, a lot of this is important in many ways, but in terms of setting up the right state for the accounts, this is the really important one. Okay, let's continue. So checkout requires minimal coding. It's the best for most integrations because of its pre-built functionalities and customization options. Yep. You can integrate checkout by creating a session and collecting customer payment details, and collect payment by embedding payment form in your website or redirecting to Stripe. They keep saying the same thing over and over again. Compare checkout to other Stripe payment options to determine the best one for you. Where's this going to take us? What other options do they have these days? I don't know that I care about any of them. Okay, so we were looking at checkout. Payment links. That does not look like what we want. We can't embed them on our site. The Stripe posted page. Bada, 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 bada. Okay. It seems like the only difference is this is embeddable versus not. So I don't really know what this option's about. Payment links. Elements. See, these ones are, this API only one, this is where you get the full extreme customization. Like, you can do anything you want, but you're kind of on your own on getting it right. But they've got more payment methods and stuff like that. But there's nothing built in available. I don't know what this means. Pre-filled SAC A and SAC D required. Any party involved in processing, transmitting, or storing credit card data must comply with the rules specified in the, whoops, you got a typo there, guys. The payment card industry data security standards. PCI compliance is a shared responsibility and applies to both Stripe and your business. Okay. But what is this thing? It's a pre-filled SAC A. What the heck is that? Let's read what Stripe says about it. We built checkout pre-filled. Or is it just going to mention? Where is it? What? Not showing up. Not cool. Okay. Go back. Maybe that wasn't the best page. Let's read it from the standards group, I guess. Attestation. What the heck? Do I have to provide this? Or maybe they do it on my behalf. Maybe that's what they're saying. Pre-filled. Card not present merchants. That would be me. So I guess in this context, I'm a merchant. I'm selling a journaling service, but I'm not taking your card. all cardholder data functions fully outsourced. That's very important. So this is like probably the least stringent option of here. Holy moly. Gosh, money is so complicated. All right. Yeah, they fill all this stuff out. Great. I don't want to have to think about this. That's what I'm also paying Stripe for. All right. I think we're ready to move on to DJ Stripe. Okay, I'm back. I think we're ready. Still don't know what Stripe Core is out of this, but I think that's okay. And it's been a couple of years since I've integrated with DJ Stripe too, so maybe the stuff has changed here as well. I think it has a little bit. We've got features, requirements. We've already checked off our requirements. We're good there. We've got a bunch of stuff that I presume supports the things we need. Pretty robust. And I do recall it handled enough to make the Stripe page option workable, so I would imagine it's going to be pretty similar. And if we need to, I can borrow pretty heavily from the homeschool app. I do remember this took a while to figure out to do well with the homeschool app. There's some hoops that I feel like I had to jump through, and I'll be able to borrow from that as appropriate. So I'm going to go ahead and let's kill off this tab. Let's open the installation page. I'm not going to read the change log. Wow. Good job, DJ Stripe developers. Thank you for doing this for 7 years. One day, if this app becomes, I would like this service to do a couple things. Pay for itself. That would be nice, where I'm not paying for it. But if I can take some of this money and start to invest it back, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, it'd be cool to make a little bit of profit too, but I do think that my day job is how I'm going to primarily make my money still. Although there's plenty of ways you can support me if you're interested. All right, so we've got that information. We're jumping to the installation section. I think that's what's next anyway. Oh, guys, their installation link does not work here. It's going to installation MD. That's wrong. I wonder if I had something I could fix really quickly. Really? So they've got it here correctly. Why did it send me to installation MD? That's weird. I wonder if that's something Read the Docs did wrong. Well, it's not even on Read the Docs. It's on its own little domain. Either that or they have done some kind of redirect on Read the Docs. I don't know. Can't tell. Very weird that it's sent to the totally wrong location, though. Especially when the source code looks okay. Although, this is not the source code. This is the README. Oh, it is. Oh, I see. So they're not using Sphinx anymore. Or they might be using Sphinx, but they're doing some markdown translation. And it doesn't seem to work fully right. I don't know. This one's right. Maybe it got corrected recently. Not sure. Whatever. We'll get to it a different way. It's fine. Okay. So we need to add DJ Stripe. Let's go ahead and do that. Got the latest pulled down. We're going to go to our requirements file, and we want to add DJ Stripe I don't know, what is this, 2.7, but I don't know if that's a specific version on PyPI or if it's something more specific. DJ Stripe. Nope, something more specific. And it's not even 2.7, it's 2.8.3. Okay, and then we can do our pip compile command. And this is no doubt going to pull in the Stripe package. Sure, they're talking to Stripe via the Stripe library underneath the covers, but they're hiding a lot of that from us. They're doing a lot of the integration work on our behalf. So it's nice. It doesn't have any dependencies aside from Stripe and Django, which is the two things it's trying to bring together anyway. Cool. So then we need, what do we need? Let me read this before I jump into putting everything in there. We need the installed app. That makes sense. We're going to add the URLs. This is how we get our webhook. And then we add our Stripe keys and set the operating mode. Oh, okay. So Stripe has, okay, Stripe, this is probably where we should talk about Stripe for a second too. Stripe gives you the ability to do test. It's like they put all their data into, how do I describe it? They have a testing mode and a production mode when you're logged in. And logging into Stripe is going to be particularly tricky. I might be able to do it early on. I don't know if we'll get to it. Well, I'll try and get to it tonight because I need to populate some of these fields. And it's going to be tricky because after I have some data, there's going to be like real accounts on there, and I don't, that's sensitive customer stuff. You got to be careful. So I'll be able to log in, but I'll have to show you the testing data, which is doable. But they give you two modes where you have to supply both of these keys in order to operate in production. Or I guess you maybe only need the live key when you set live mode to true. Maybe the test key is only used when you're testing. So it's interesting that they require both these at the same time. It's not one key. I don't remember why DJ Stripe did that. There's probably a good valid reason to do that way. Maybe it's so you can toggle between them, like in some kind of app setting, and pretend something's production, but I don't really understand. There is a webhook secret that we need to supply, and we get this from Stripe. So they want us to put a specific secret so that they can validate. There's some like validation step. You think about this. We want our connections to Stripe to be really secure. That's less true for the testing portion where we're testing things out. They'll give us some warning of, hey, you're not testing over a secure connection. But on the real site, man, we're talking money data. So we want this stuff to be really secure. And so that'll do that. It'll make sure that it's secure in transit, which is to say it's going to be using HTTPS, but all of our traffic is, so that's okay. But also wants to do some validation that the payload that is being sent to our site, so that we can know whether to trust that or not, is actually coming from Stripe themselves. Because with webhooks, the challenge is that all of these webhooks can be on the open internet. And anybody could potentially find the URL. So it is on us to make sure that whoever's sending us data, that we're actually being responsible on it. We did the same thing with SendGrid. We had to make sure that we provided a password so that only SendGrid could be able to send us that information. Everybody else, you'd have to get that password in order to be able to send us stuff. So it's a similar kind of thing here with this webhook secret. So they've got this guidance here of use native JSON field. I guess we're just going to set that to true. And we'll probably take all of these settings and then we'll make them work with our what's it called? Environment config? Django environ, sorry. Blanking out. So this is how we're going to get our webhook URL and so on. Here's the note. DJ Stripe expects Stripe live mode to be Boolean. In case you use bash environment variables or equivalent to inject the value, make sure you convert it to a Boolean type. I highly recommend Django environ. That's what I use. Sync data from Stripe. DJ Stripe expects API keys of all Stripe accounts you'd like to sync data for to already be in the database. They can be added. Oh, I forgot about this part. So there's like there is a command that you have to run first, like that they move something to like a database only thing, and maybe it's a security thing. I don't know. I'm not really sure because you have, and then I also don't know an API key versus the secret key. I thought those were the same. So there's some things I got to figure out here. We're not going to use Stripe elements, so we don't need to worry about this. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Doesn't quite want to come out though. Okay, so I think we can continue on the setup page. Oh, but let's read through the rest of the getting started stuff because maybe it'll make sense of this note. This note doesn't make, if I had some feedback for the developers here, it's like this doesn't make sense on its own because we haven't read far enough yet. So there's kind of like an order of operations thing here that we're missing. So let's read this. Managing Stripe API keys. Stripe API keys are stored in the database. What's the secret key thing? Because we've got, here's a secret key, sk_test. See this this format here, sk_test, that's coming from Stripe. Stripe, one of the cool things about their identifiers is they have kind of embedded the type of identifier in the ID itself, so you can always tell what this is. So sk_test is a test key. If you saw sk_live, it's a live key. So you put that in. So what I don't understand is if this has to be in the database, then what's the function of the settings? That's what's unclear to me. By default, keys are visible by anyone who has access to the DJ Stripe administration. Well, it'll just be me, so that's okay. You may add new API keys in the API key administration. The only required value is the secret key itself, so we can leave off the key name if we wanted to. Once saved, DJ Stripe will automatically detect whether the key is a public, restricted, or secret key, and whether it's for live or test mode. If it's a secret key, the matching account object will automatically be fetched, as well as the key, and the key will be associated with it, so that it can be used to communicate with the Stripe API when dealing with objects belonging to that account. Oh, so you can put other types of keys in here, I guess. Answering the million-dollar questions. And we've got this other stuff here. Okay, cool. We're going to get all of our questions answered. Perfect. I hope. When expiring or rolling new secret keys, you should create the new API key in Stripe, then add it from the Django admin. Whenever you are ready, you may delete the old key. It is safe to keep it around as long as it hasn't expired. Keeping expired keys in the database may result in errors during usage. Okay. Why store them in the database? As we work on supporting multiple Stripe accounts per instance, it is vital for DJ Stripe to have a mechanism to store more than one Stripe API key. It also became obvious that we may want proper programmatic access to create and delete keys. Furthermore, API keys are a legitimate upstream Stripe object, and it is not unlikely the API may allow access to listing other API keys in the future. Okay. So their promise says they want to be, they want to model what Stripe models. And they view API keys as just like there's a customer Stripe model, they view the API key as something similar. So that's a reasonable point of view. Isn't that insecure? Okay. Please do keep your billing database encrypted. There's a copy of all your customers' billing data on it. Okay. You may also instead create a read-only restricted key with all read permissions for DJ Stripe. All right. So there's a good question here. Heroku database encryption. Is this stuff encrypted? There we go. Hey. Heroku automatically encrypts data at rest at the disk level for most Heroku Postgres, Heroku data for Redis, and Apache Kafka on Heroku plans. Okay. That's good. I would hope so, but you never know. It's a good thing to check. So I guess it's worth calling out in case you're unaware of these terms. There's transit and at rest. When we talk about encryption in web app development world, we talk about these two different types of encryption. So at rest is when it's like written to a disk, a hard drive, and the bits are stored like on that hard drive. In this case, a database. The database eventually has to write to a hard disk, right? Is that data available that any Joe Schmo admin could come in and do an ls on the directory and just start poking around at the data? So if you encrypt the data at rest, you're essentially putting like keys on that so that the data that's sitting on that disk cannot be accessed unless the person has the encryption key to decrypt the data. So that's what at rest means. In transit means like when it's moving over the network. So networks can be, the US government has famously intercepted a lot of data, and they were reading anything that they could by hooking into like the fiber optic lines. And they were, the fiber optic lines are just light signals. And they were reading all of the light, the voltage, or the photovoltaic up and down on that stuff, and reading the bits. And if your data wasn't encrypted, well, guess what? They're going to figure it out. So encryption in transit is the idea of encrypting the data as it's going through all of those network wires, whether they be electrical wires, fiber optic, whatever, so that anybody, government or otherwise, if they are able to inspect that data, they would have to have the encryption key to be able to decrypt it. This is why the web became a lot more secure when stuff like Let's Encrypt basically permitted average people to get security certificates without having to pay for them. That was a big step up in improving the overall security of the internet. So that's transit and rest are the two big concepts you want to know about. So that's what DJ Stripe is saying here, is like, make sure that your data is encrypted when it is at rest. Otherwise, there will be like billing addresses and stuff of your customers that anybody could see. All right. I'm using environment variables. Yeah, this is what I don't get. It's like they tell us to use environment variables. So do we have to do both? That's what's confusing to me. But I guess I'll just keep reading. Not at this time. There's settings. Live key and test key can still be used. Their values will, however, be automatically saved to the database at the earliest option. All right. Setting these will be deprecated in 2.5.0. Well, we're way ahead of that. You do not risk anything by leaving them in your settings. They are not used by DJ Stripe outside of DJ Stripe mixins, which are now themselves deprecated. You can leave them in your settings, or you can move them to the database. So I think what this tells me is I want to try and leave these off. If we have to put these in the admin anyway, and I'm going to have to set these afterwards, then I don't want to have to also set them in environment variables, because then I'm updating like 2 places to have the same information, which seems pretty dumb. Although they did say if they exist in one, they'll get created in the other. But again, I would love to just like not have to do that. All right, let's keep going on. And then we'll return back to the installation stuff. All right. Point of confusion. There are several different Stripe API versions at once. Do not touch the Stripe API version setting. Okay. Fine. So Stripe gives you, they have a, all of their APIs have versions of when, like what date a certain API is associated with. And that helps determine like what kind of data would you get if you called a customer API and you called it 3 years ago and used the version from 3 years ago, because they're date-based versioning. You'd get potentially a different set of data back versus if you called it with the version number from this year, or maybe the end of last year if they don't have one from this year yet. So Stripe has this API versioning mechanism, and it helps keep stuff pretty stable. So you can code to one, and you only have to upgrade it when Stripe tells you to upgrade it to. Like you might need new features, and you want to upgrade your version to get newer stuff. So that's really on you. And they're saying with DJ Stripe here, you don't actually have to do that. You can just leave it alone. Your Stripe accounts API version. For new accounts, this will be the latest Stripe version. When upgrading, Stripe only allows you to upgrade the latest, okay? So we can upgrade if we wanted to, apparently. William, thanks for the feedback there. You opted to keep the environment variables. Yeah. So what I don't get is like if they're deprecated, like when maybe there's a timeline for when they're planning to remove them, because they set the deprecation notice at 2.5. But it'd be nice to just leave them off entirely. I'm going to try and leave them off. We'll see how it goes. If it works poorly, like maybe there might be some warnings or something that come out that not ready to do that yet, then we'll put them in, fine. But if we can get away with not putting them in, I'm going to not put them in. All right. So this is the version used by Stripe when they send webhook stuff to us. Okay, not surprising. DJ Stripe overrides the so DJ Stripe specifically talks like potentially an older version because that's what they're coded to. So I guess we're saying we're letting the DJ Stripe developers control the API version from their perspective, so that they know exactly what they're syncing with the models, and they can upgrade it at the appropriate times from their perspective as the maintainers of this. Okay. Yeah. So my takeaway is I'm just not going to touch it. John, that's a good question. I don't know if I'll have to update it for School Desk or not. I'm hoping that this is not viewed as a per account thing, but a per project thing within. We're going to find out. We're going to find out although maybe I also have the option. That's a good question. I'm going to switch to secrets mode for a moment. And I'm going to check what Stripe account I have, because I might have already. No, it's just. I thought it might be associated just with the homeschool app, but it's not. It's associated specifically with my personal account. So we'll have to deal with that. Hopefully, it's not a big deal. Otherwise, I know what I'm doing. I'll have to like coordinate after the stream of like, can I update this now? I think we're ready. I don't feel like reading release notes. I don't think we need to go into usage yet. Let's just see if we can get it in place, see how it goes. So let's jump back to the installation stuff. We've got the pip stuff in there. we'll do our install, our pip install, which is downloading the Stripe package. We need to add DJ Stripe to installed apps. So let's go to the settings and let's go down to our third-party applications, and we're going to add DJ Stripe right here. Okay, and then we want to add the DJ Stripe path. So we'll go to our project URLs and we will include Stripe, the Stripe path right there. Okay. So far, so good. I bet what happens if we run the test now? I'm just curious. Is it going to blow up or is it going to be fine? Hey, okay. So we're not touching anything from DJ Stripe yet, so it doesn't really care yet. We're done with that. Let's get that out of here. We're going to put, okay, we do need to make, so from looking at these settings, well, you know what, I do like to look at the overall settings list. So this is like a minimum set, but let's see if we can find a settings set. Here we go. What do we got? Oh man, there's a bunch of them. Ugh. All right, let's go through this pretty quickly. I think we're going to get away with, because we tried to stick to pretty stock Django this time. I think we may not have to do much. And some of these things were already in that other list, like that DJ foreign key to field. It's already there. So we're gonna do whatever they said here. I don't even want to read this. Who cares? But they told us not to mess with that. I'm not gonna mess with it. That one's gonna come from that setting we're about to set. Doesn't matter. DJ Stripe item potency key callback. Woo. A function which will return an item potency key for a particular object type and action pair. By default, this is set to a function which will create an item potency key object and return its UUID. All right, so there's already a default there that I don't think I want to mess with. Don't really care right now. Proration policy. By default, plans are not prorated. Concretely, this is how this translates. If a customer cancels their plan during a trial, cancellation is effective right away. Okay. If a customer cancels their plan outside of a trial, their subscription remains active until the period's end. They do not receive a refund. Okay. If a customer switches from one plan to another, the new plan becomes effective right away. And the customer, okay. So this is like the simpler, I think this mode is like simpler than proration. Proration is like you're switching from one plan to the other. We're going to prorate the amount so you get billed for a partial amount and you start a new one. And I think that's complicated. I'm going to leave this alone for now. It would be simpler to explain to customers as well, which is the other. So you got to think not only like, if I choose this, maybe it's not quite as beneficial to customers, but if it's just an easy, clear policy that I can state like, hey, here's how this works. I don't prorate, sorry, then there's no ambiguity about it. Okay. DJ Stripe subscriber customer key. Every customer object created in Stripe is tagged with metadata. This setting controls what the name of the key in Stripe should be. Oh, okay. I guess this assumes that you create the customer and send it through DJ Stripe, maybe? Because if it's created through if we're going through like the checkout page that they're making for us, I don't know that we have any opportunity to create that from an API call. So I don't think that's going to matter. We're using the auth user model, so we don't have to fiddle with this. Or do we? Hold on. If the auth user model doesn't represent the object your application subscription doesn't, if the auth user model doesn't represent the object your application's subscription, am I just being dumb? Why am I not reading this properly? If the auth user model doesn't represent the object your application's subscription holder, does that sentence make sense? I mean, I can kind of piece it together, but I can't put those words together in a coherent way that I can speak them. All right. You may define a subscriber model to use here. It should be a string in the form of app.model. DJ subscriber model must have an email field. Okay, I think, all right, hold on. Let's think through this. I think I did this. Let's look at school desk actually. DJ Stripe. I think I set this something else. Yeah, I did. Okay. I set this to the account. Trying to think if I should care. I once got a piece of advice that said to make sure that your users and your accounts were separated from some, like this was one of those SaaS podcasts. And I think the idea was if you ever wanted to move to having like multiple users for an account, like let's say you're a service that has a team and you need one account holder. And if you attach that to the user, the thing that's doing like authentication, then if that team member leaves or something like that, then you're kind of stuck and it's a real pain. But I'm not sure that I care because in this scenario, I think a Journey Inbox user, this is not something I foresee ever adding like a family plan to. Like, just not interested in supporting that. If somebody wants to have their family, everybody in their family journaling or something like that, because this is certainly not something that a team would do. This is not like a B2B project here. It's like as a business, I'm not serving other businesses, so I'm not trying to support a team. So this is business to consumer, B2C, and in that model, the only consumer relationship that I would care about is potentially a family. And again, I don't think it makes sense for families to have a shared journaling service. So I think the need to separate the account and the user from that perspective is less. So I can probably attach the customer to the user model. So I'm going to have like, it's going to be a little fuzzy, maybe not the perfect modeling here, but I don't know. The reason I'm hesitating on this is because I don't want to go back into my account and add that email field. I had to do that on this other one. So we went in here. I had to come in. Or I think I did. Oh, okay. Oh, clever, Matt. Well, maybe that's worthwhile. Or is this actually wrong? Just think about it. If it doesn't matter, I'm overthinking this, is because again, I'm not going to do. I don't need to have that relationship where the account holder can be changed because it's always going to be that one user. But this setup here would be wrong if I had a school desk scenario where it was going to change, because this email property, I'm sure, populates the customer field. And if we have this be something dynamic that can change out on them, then it doesn't, like, Stripe wouldn't know that this update is happening. So while this worked, to make school desk work, I don't think it's actually a good thing. Lessons learned, right? Like this is just didn't think through that all the way. Okay, so we're gonna leave this alone. That's how I feel about it. Subscriber model migration dependency. We're not touching that, so that's not a big deal. We're going to use the native JSON field. This setting is deprecated and will be removed in Stripe, DJ Stripe 2.8. Well, we're in 2.8, so it's documentation lying. Whatever. I'll use the recommended stuff. I'm not going to touch that. We are going to get the webhook secret. That'll come later. And let's read up on the, we're almost, I guess I thought we were at the bottom. No, we're not. Shoot. We've got webhook validation. Verify signature, recommended default. Retrieve event. Well, we don't want none, right? Why did I do this? Why did I disable validation? Oh man, there's a lot to learn from this probably. Stripe publishable key. This is probably one that I added myself. That's not, I don't think that's documented. Well, shoot. Not enough context here. Add DJ Stripe. Thanks, Matt. Okay. We will operate without that. We'll just keep this in mind. Basically, we'll come back here to refer to this if we need to. But we'll probably break this up into smaller pieces if we can. So essentially, we want to verify the signature. It sounds like maybe I disabled it for certain reasons, perhaps. Well, I'm listening to myself. That was the stupidest thing I've said all day. I disabled it for some reason. I don't know what the reason was. Webhook tolerance. Not going to touch it. Leave it unless you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm not going to touch it. We don't need to mess with the callback. I'm not going to touch the Stripe API host. Source code settings. No. What? No. Okay, I think that's it. So my takeaway here is we can take the settings from the install instructions. We'll have to convert a few of them to use environment options. We're going to ignore these first two. Yep. All right, let's do it. I'm going to steal from over here. because this already had some stuff that I think matched up. So we need Stripe Live Mode. Let me just copy all of this. And we'll go to the settings area. And we want to do DJ Stripe. Okay, we're not going to use the subscriber model thing. We do want to use true, right? And let's see, I'm going to add more commentary this time to these things that are just set to static values. So this is coming, this thing is coming from the Stripe Live Mode. I think that's for the Stripe library itself. Is it? I don't know. Because I notice it's missing DJ Stripe. So I suspect that it's coming from the Django setting, sorry, Stripe library. Not sure. Yeah, just not sure about stuff right now. So let's say this value is recommended in the DJ Stripe docs as a default, as a best default. Oh my word, Matt. Good grief, what am I doing? What is going on? Boo. Try again. This setting is recommended in the DJ Stripe docs as the best default. I don't know what happened a moment ago. So we'll put those at the bottom. And we know that the keys are going to come from that admin setting page. It's going to be a pain to set up on localhost. Whatever. We'll deal with it. It's fine. It's fine. So we've got both of these things here. If I try and run the test right now, it's going to fail. It's going to say like, hey, you didn't set that thing. We want I want to bias my settings so that they work for production by default. So that means I want to have Stripe Live key be true by default, or live mode, right? Yeah. But we want to be really careful with that. We want to have our environment example be set to false. So we want Stripe Live mode equal off. That's our way to get Boolean there. I don't remember if there are any secrets. I got to go set this in the env file. Looking for secrets. Yeah, there's an AnyMail webhook secret in here that I can't share. So I'm setting that to off in the env file. Coming back. There we go. And then we need to set this in CI as well. But here, we want to set it to down here. So that's going to be Stripe Live mode off. Okay. Oh man. Keep that up. And we've got the DJ Stripe webhook secret. What did I set? I don't think I set anything for this. So I don't want to have a default for that. I want it to just always be present. So we'll say, not there. DJ Stripe webhook secret equal to a secret to everybody. I learned that was actually a pretty poor translation from the Japanese. I'm assuming y'all know which game I'm referencing. And DJ Stripe webhook secret equal, I don't know, fake secret. See if it complains when I start it up. I'll put this back on again and put this in my current env file. Return. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can run the tests, or if it's going to blow up on us for some other validation error. Oh, cool. So, what does that give us? We've now got now I got these. We can run the migrate command. That's going to generate all the models. Let's do that. All right, got all this stuff. Manage, migrate. Bunch of DJ Stripe migrations. That should be good. Now we can go here and we can go back to the admin page. I think I have it like token admin. Yeah. Boo. README. Matt at testing create horse. Someday I'll remember that. Or maybe I won't. Okay. Cool. So we are now integrated with DJ Stripe. It's set up to like receive the webhook. We haven't done anything on the Stripe side, and we haven't set up with real data yet. So it's not like there's nothing to see here yet. So all of these things are likely to be empty. But you can see just how many different models this project is bringing in from us, which is useful. I think this one's going to be the most valuable, probably, the customers there. But we'll just have like a fuller history here that we won't be required necessarily to log into Stripe to see everything. And it could also have foreign keys to other records. So if we tie this to the user as it happens, then all of that association will be there appropriately. But nothing will be there, and we could go look at the commands that are available to us. What is it? Show commands? Is that what it is? Nope. There's a way. Okay, never mind. Just making stuff up. Feel like a LLM right now. Okay, let's look at DJ Stripe somewhere. So we've got some commands that we could run here to actually sync. So this could get pretty expensive. I mean, not really, but not expensive in terms of like actual cost. But let's say you're working locally and you had a subscription service that you were running and operating for years, and you ran the sync models command. This would basically pull down all your Stripe data all at once. I'm not really sure why you'd run this, or maybe you'd put it in test mode and you pull it out on your test data. Okay, that makes more sense. But you could also essentially pull down your production data with this command. It's kind of weird. Let's look at this guy. Curious what these are. Delete expired Stripe item potency keys. Maybe you're trying to save space in the database? I don't know. These are things we're going to have to explore. So I'm going to essentially let all of this stuff accumulate. And if there happens to be a bunch of traffic on the site, there's potential that there could be a lot of webhook calls and a lot of data being stored. So I could see these set of database tables actually outweighing all the other data on the site, interestingly. I don't know that for certain, and that assumes that I actually get some traffic, so it may not be true, but it's a possibility. So I think we may be done for the first portion. Let's take a quick review here. And what I liked about this is that nothing complained at me. I set up the minimal amount of stuff. I had all the testing seemed to be going just fine. And I'm pleased that this was easy. This was easier than I thought it would be. It's just kind of surprising. Yeah. We'll take it. Declare a victory there. Now, doesn't mean that we're ready to create accounts yet. We still have a bunch of to do to actually take advantage of this stuff. And that's where we're going to get into the rest of the documentation. So there's the actual usage down here. That's where it's going to get interesting, I think. But we've made it through step 1. And I might push on. I'm checking the time. We're going for a couple hours. So I'm going to add this basic setup here. Not basic, the introductory setup, I'll say. So we'll say add DJ Stripe. And this is for our Stripe integration issue, which is number 7, one of the early ones. Knew we were going to need it. Push that up. We'll make sure that CI works. That's important. I want to continue to have that working. And we'll turn this stuff into a list. We did add the account model already, but we concluded that I'm not going to use that for having my account reference there. We've got DJ Stripe. We want to do, I don't know the answer to this question yet, but we'll come to that. And let's see, what else do we need? Amin, that is a good question. SaaS stands for Software as a Service. So any software that you would go online and pay for is considered a SaaS product. We're building a journaling app that you can sign up for and get. So it's like a monthly billing subscription stuff. Is a typical mode. That's not the only way that you can be charged for things, but it's a way for people to make money online selling online services. Okay, let's. What else do we need here? We need the checkout page, Stripe checkout page. I think that's what it was called. And we need to answer, are we going to do Stripe posted or embedded? I don't know the difference yet, if one's easier or than the other. And we don't need to figure out what that's going to entail. Oh, CI failed. We must have messed something up. Oh, come on. So they're validating our DJ webhook secret. All right. Must have been in that other one, I bet. Yeah. We'll just use the same thing. And we'll go to the CI file. Paste that in. Make sure that the secret, the webhook secret, looks like a secret. All right. We'll check on that in a second. In the meantime, let's go view. So I think we're done with the settings. We think we've done everything we needed for now. If we need more, we can go borrow from Homeschool. And let's check out. Let's see, what are we going to need? I don't think we need reference. And test fixtures. What's in there? Okay, that's about maintaining the project. Never mind. Just want to be exhaustive sometimes. So let's go to the usage section. So we've got the the webhooks. Setting up a new webhook endpoint in DJ Stripe. We can create new webhooks. Why would we do this? Oh. Before this, there's a global webhook. Not recommended. Huh. Okay, let's read this a little bit more carefully now. I didn't realize that they switched away from that. So that's another one of these admin pages. The problem is that it makes us have more manual setup. And I get it in the name of security. I get it, but it's annoying. Create a new webhook endpoint from the admin. From there, you can choose an account to create the endpoint for. If no account is chosen, the default API key will be used. Also choose to create the endpoint in a test or live mode. Huh. You may want to change the base URL of the endpoint. This will be pre-filled with the current site. Serge, you're very welcome for the book. Happy to be streaming as well. This is good fun for me. I enjoy not only building a product, but also sharing it with y'all. It's good to go through and get the brain moving, right? So we've got this webhook creation process. We might have to do this later. Oh, interesting. When saved from the admin, the endpoint will be created in Stripe with a DJ Stripe specific UUID, which will be part of the URL. So just like I did with the admin itself, if you weren't around for that, if you look at my project URL, well, it's probably not just it's probably a little bit more customized than that. But you can see I added this setting that put in this admin URL path token. And the idea is I don't want the admin to be guessable because my source code is fully available for public. So this makes it so that I can use my admin page, and it's got a long UUID thing that's not guessable, and it's just much harder to find on the internet. Not impossible, just harder. So it's the same concept here with this webhook. This is what they're telling us to do. All right, so we've got extra configuration, the tolerance, the event callback, and the validation. Now, I think this is the section that pertains more to us. We will eventually need to listen for that checkout session completed handler. So this is where we will use this webhooks. I don't remember, let's see where we put it in the homeschool app. I'm positive it's in here. Put it right in the models. Okay, you can see this is where once the session was completed, we pulled the event out of the event data. We got the ID, which is the account ID, and because we're passing that along. So part of my setup process here is when we created the session, we pass in a reference ID. Those from the client side, the JavaScript, and it created that session, and then like Stripe did its thing, and they called us back and gave us back the ID so that we could make the association, and then we set the account to the appropriate status. That's how this is working out. We'll do something similar for Journey Inbox later, but I don't know that we need to use this today, but we can call it out. So let's see, we need, let's record this in here. We need the checkout session completed webhook to set an account to active. That will be one of the items. I remember there being some weird stuff along the way. What was the weird stuff? I think, did it have to do with credit card up front? No, I don't know. Hold on. Let's just keep going. This might be getting a little too deep for how far we're going to go this evening. So we're going to have these price objects that are going to come from Stripe. Remember, we're going to go create a certain set of plans and things that we'll have to talk about. Because we haven't talked about what's the pricing model for this service. Spoiler alert, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to have a monthly and an annual for folks that want the convenience of an annual. So there'll be two different price options for the same service, and I think that's how you connect it roughly. And I think this is ways that they're saying you can create these things. But I don't know that I'm not sure if we can use customer subscribe, because these might be like code ways to do this. Again, we want to lean on Stripe checkout and let them do all the configuration, because we want the customer, the actual like user of the service, be able to go to the Stripe page or the embedded form, control their own settings there, and be able to modify whether they're using monthly or annual or canceling any of those things, and let them handle that on their own. And that might actually work around the prorate issue if we're not letting DJ Stripe do stuff. Essentially, we would be using DJ Stripe as a mechanism to consume down like the price information that we would care about, that we might have to show on a certain page. But I'm starting to think like maybe that's less and less necessary, because even on the checkout page, it seemed like there was like it could show a pricing page too. I feel like I saw somewhere. Maybe it wasn't on this page, but there was something. We got more to read here. That'll be interesting. Online payments. I think we're done with that's the comparison one. For your convenience, DJ Stripe provides a subscription extend method. Oh, if you want to give a subscription more time, okay. This is one of the statuses of a subscription will be in trialing, and that's on the Stripe side. And there's a trialing with a trial end date, how that works on Stripe. So this is manipulating those things on the Stripe side. Manually syncing. I don't think we need to do that, because if we deploy this, in fact, I think we could and should probably before the evening's done. Let's go check the action side. Yep. Yeah, I'll probably finish the night by actually deploying this out there, even though it's not doing anything. Is that a bad idea? We won't have a secret yet. So deploy is not going to work. We'd have to go to Heroku. Nah, okay, I'm not going to deploy. Not necessary yet. But it doesn't matter because we're not sending anything on Stripe side because we haven't gone to that side yet. When we're ready to, we want to kind of do them in tandem so that the site is ready to start receiving whatever events and stuff that Stripe is firing off. So we'll log into Stripe. We'll go get the webhook secret key wherever that is. We'll add it to the Heroku side. We'll deploy, and then we'll add. Once we've deployed, then we can go to the admin. We can add the live and the secret keys that are needed in order to get the data flowing. And from there, we'll be able to go and add the webhook configuration. And we should hopefully start seeing data show up once we get that webhook configuration in. So I don't think we'll need to do any manual syncing, is I guess what I'm getting at. We're not going to create a charge. We're not doing billing metered billing. Stripe checkout. Maybe this is what we want. Alright, that seems new. For your convenience, DJ Stripe provides an example implementation of how to use checkouts. Cool. Let's file this away with our issue because this might be useful. Example view. Nice. Okay. In order for DJ Stripe to create a link between your customers and subscribers, you need to add the DJ Stripe customer key to the metadata parameter of checkout. Ooh, okay. This has been demonstrated. All right, we got to go read that view later. It's too late to get into that now. We're not doing Docker. Not worried about this. Okay. Cool. Oh, this looks super useful. I was wondering, I had forgotten how we would test this stuff out, and I forgot that Stripe gives you tools to do this. So Stripe gives you a CLI tool, command line interface, and you can specify your own secrets. And I think it does like port forwarding or maybe you just trigger it yourself. Oh, that's cool. I like this. All right, we're gonna want to validate our code with this thing for sure. So let's keep that as another thing that we can keep track of. So this is going to be local testing with Stripe CLI. Awesome. Okay, I think think that's all we can get out of the actual DJ Stripe docs here. So we need to come up with a game plan of what to do next, because we're not really getting clear guidance. And now I happen to know from memory what some of this stuff was, but I don't think this is going to be the way that we're going to learn it. I think we have to do it. We have to read it from Stripe's perspective of what they want you to do. And then as we step through, we're going to encounter scenarios where it says, from your back end, do blah, 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 and create a session. That's where we need to like wear this other hat. So I think next time I stream, which will not be next week because I'm doing a Python Frederick meetup here in town, but in a couple weeks when I stream again, what we'll do is we'll pick up at that local view. We'll look at that. We'll go look at that code, example code in the project, and we'll try and make sense of what it's doing. Hopefully it's very sensible, and then we'll get a good example. And then once we have that loaded in our heads, we can go visit the Stripe pages. So actually we probably should keep reference to some of this stuff here. And I might read some of this offline. I would encourage you to do the same if you want to keep following along. You don't have to, of course. There's no homework here, but Stripe checkout docs. Have that here. You know what? This is looking like garbage. Let's put a little horizontal line action, and then make a bulleted list of this stuff. Come on. Where's my delete key? Different keyboard. All right, we'll clean that up a little bit. So we've got our Stripe documentation. We'll go read how to make this work and get the details out. I'm really interested in this embedded form option. It sounds pretty nice, especially if it can double as the pricing page. And let me contextualize that for you. So if you go to School Desk, I think I did it on this main page actually. So here's the School Desk page, and if you scroll down, you learn about School Desk, and then you get to the pricing. And we're going to do the same kind of pricing option. Well, maybe not the same prices, but a pricing grid just like this for a monthly and an annual plan. And both of these things, right now, they take you to a sign-up page, and they start a trial, but that's not necessarily the flow that I want to do. I want to experiment with trying to put the embedded form right on there. I don't know if that's right or not. I have to play with it, because there's also this like notion of I want a beta period, and what do I do at trials during that period? Maybe I create plans during the beta period where I just put a trial out like 3 months, 6 months, or something like that, and like give people the space to help out and support. Not really sure, but we'll play with those things. But anyway, this looks pretty appealing to me. I want to go learn more and see what all the options are. I think this is holy moly. The checkout page has exploded in the amount of stuff that is available. I got a lot to read there. I don't think we can read that all on stream. I don't think that'd be a good use of anybody's time. So I'm going to try and read some of this and maybe distill it down to what matters for a Django project and working with DJ Stripe. That's probably what you'd really care about. Maybe not. Maybe you're more interested in all the gory details like I am, but I don't know that we'll have time to go on stream. So that's where I'm going to call it for this evening. Thank you for joining in. Appreciate it. It's been a little quiet today, but that's fine. Hopefully, we were looking at a lot of documentation today. Hopefully, it made sense where we're going with this. Just as a reminder, what we're doing here is we want to get Stripe in place so we can create accounts. And then we have a little bit left to do in terms of cleanup that will be needed to make the user experience tolerable for people that are signing up as beta users. And then I think we'll be ready to like open this up to actual users. I got to put in some controls in here to make sure that I have can gate the number of users, because we're on the free tier for SendGrid right now. So there's only so many emails that I can send out in a day. I want to make sure that's not overwhelmed and really hurt not only my own experience but everybody else's experience. So that's important. So we got to keep that threshold at the right level, and we'll play with that. And I think that's kind of the path we're on. But it's going to be Stripe for at least 2 or 3 more sessions here, I think, to get this really working the way that we want it. And I think we might have to play with some more styling along the way. I don't know. We'll see. So thank you all for joining in. Hopefully this was valuable. If you want, or you do me a favor, leave a like on this if you can. If you never joined in, please subscribe. There's a way you can support me. You can either also become a full, what's the YouTube term for it? You can subscribe to me as like a more of a Patreon-like thing on YouTube. Also, I'm on Patreon as patreon.com/mblayman. If you find this content valuable and you want to continue supporting me there, that's cool. My list of Patreon subscribers, I'll just read it off real quick, just to do right by them, just to thank them for the new year. So thank you to Rupert, Andrew, Dragos, Ryan, Patrick, Fred, Aaron, Philip, Shivan, and Monty, and Miguel. Those folks have continued to support me for a long time, so I'm really grateful. And if you want to join them, please feel free to do so. I take all that money and invest back in the green screen here, which I'm still working out the details. We'll get this ironed out. It's something I'm working on. I will eventually get off of I'm literally at a folding table is what all this is set up on top of. So I'm hoping to buy a desk this year and improve. I should take some pictures and share them. It is kind of my setup is sort of janky in some ways, but it's functional. Anyway, that's enough about me. Thank you all for joining in. Take care. Have a good night.